Overpaying for anything sucks, especially socks, so why pay $45 for a single pair of grip socks when you can spend less than half? Pure Grip Socks Pro feature our best materials for optimal fit, moisture wicking, and performance at a fair price, just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
Are you by chance looking for a pair of football boots that are uncomfortable, overpriced, and totally unnecessary? Well, you've come to the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, the Puma Ultra Match LL, which of course stands for laceless, this being the MG variation, which is why there are so many short studs at the bottom of these boots, this being the latest offering in the $100 laceless category, and quite honestly, a pair of football boots that you should not buy. And I don't usually comment on looks because it really doesn't matter when it comes to fit, feel, and performance, but my goodness, is this a weird looking pair of football boots. And I'll be straight up insane, for a brand that's done so well, certainly at the top price points and even with a lot of their takedown models, this is a low point for Puma. These are not good football boots that you should not buy, and I'm going to explain why in today's video, along with alternatives that you should buy instead for the same amount of money or less. So if you're interested in learning more and we're at all considering these football boots, please stick around. We're gonna go over all the details, including how they fit and feel on feet. And if by chance you still want to buy a pair, you can get them below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. As far as design is concerned, there just isn't much of it. And I've been a big advocate for simple football boots for a very long time now, especially in an age of all these new technologies, most of which do absolutely nothing. In the case of the Ultra Match LL, it's a textile base upper with an elasticated knit filling in across the top of the foot and then extending into this collar, but the knit material that they've used, particularly with this color, almost makes these football boots look like they were made from like Play-Doh or something. Something about them is just off to me. The textile-based synthetic itself is fine. It's thin, it's pliable, it feels decent on your foot, and even the shape that they have with this football boot, at least for my feet in particular, because obviously with laceless boots, it's gonna vary a lot from person to person based on adjustability not being there. I think it feels good and it's nice on the ball. It even has their grip control coating on the surface, which is just a polyurethane, but it's a little bit stickier than what you're gonna find from a Nike skin or even the type of polyurethane Adidas has on their boots. There's just a little bit of additional grip that you wouldn't otherwise have, which I actually quite like. The laceless design, however, is where I just think this gets really lazy, and unfortunately Puma is just capitalizing on what Adidas has been capitalizing on in the $100 price point for a couple years now with their laceless takedown models, and that it's just elasticated material across the top of the foot with no real effort to make for a system that locks your foot in place, holds it in place, or feels good at all. While this elasticated knit material does have some decent tension to it, it still stretches really easily when the boots are on your feet, and when that material stretches, you effectively lose all lockdown altogether. And it's a mid-cut design, so I think that's automatically associated with having good lockdown, but for whatever reason, this has a really shallow fit in the heel, and when you pair that up with this super thin padded microfiber lining material, it's just not enough padding in my opinion, along with this lack of lockdown from the laceless system, you have a pair of football boots where your heels are constantly moving up and down, and when you pair that up with the shallow fit, this is going to shred the skin on the back of your heels. There are football boots that don't feel good. These, in my opinion, feel straight up uncomfortable. And if you're wondering about the insole, it is fully glued in, non-removable, and at $100, I just think that's a little bit unacceptable. Which brings us to the sole plate and stud pattern, where, like I mentioned, this is the MG variation, which stands for multi-ground, and it must be said that you can also get this football boot with the FG-AG sole plate and stud pattern, although it doesn't make them any better in regards to fit and overall comfort. With that said, I really like this sole plate and stud pattern. It's nothing new from Puma. They've offered it for a number of years now, and despite it being called multi-ground, and technically you can wear this on just about any playing surface, it's not really ideal on firm ground, especially if the grass is a little bit longer, and certainly not ideal for soft ground given the length of the studs, but for use on artificial grass and hard ground in particular, this is realistically the ideal stud pattern, not just in terms of traction and overall stability, which obviously plays its role in regards to safety, but also in regards to comfort, because it's going to disperse that pressure underneath your foot much more evenly because of the amount of studs that you have. There are no pressure points because that pressure is distributed amongst basically 3 times more studs than you would typically find underneath your feet with a standard FG or soft ground stud pattern. Nonetheless, I really like this aspect of the football boot, but like I said, it's nowhere near good enough to save what's happening with the upper. Which brings us to the weight, where unsurprisingly, they're not super light, but they're also not super heavy either. In a size 9.5 US, the Ultra Match Plus LL weighs in at 8.25 ounces, the equivalent of 234 grams, which puts them in a very similar weight range to other speed boots that are in the $100 to $80 price point. So again, nothing exceptional, certainly not super light on feet, but acceptable given what else is out there. I hate to say it, but this is quite possibly the worst football boot Puma has ever made. At the very least, they're the worst Puma football boots that I've ever had on my feet. As far as the fit and feel is concerned, there's just nothing that I have that's good to say. It has this kind of unusual square shape to the tip of the toe, which I don't have the biggest issue with, but the lack of lockdown. You can see the pulling away of the material from my foot when you bend your foot, the stretching of that laceless system. You can see how it just opens right up with just a simple bend. Forget about running around and making quick changes of direction. There is no stability, there's no lockdown. The shallow fit in the heel makes my heel go up and down with every single movement, even while wearing grip socks. This is a pair of football boots that has literally no redeeming qualities when it comes to fit and overall comfort. From a width perspective, they fit nice and snug, but again, they stretch so easily that none of that even matters. And as far as sizing is concerned, for anyone that does care, I'm wearing them in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is fine. So if you are looking to get a pair, true to size is definitely the way to go. It's just a matter of actually getting a pair, which I personally do not recommend. So in conclusion, and as stated very early on in this video, you should not buy these. The appeal here is the fact that it's a laceless football boot at $100, but just like all the $100 laceless options from Adidas, they're just not good. The point of a takedown model is to provide value for money, and there is simply no value to be had here. If you have $100 to spend on a pair of football boots and they absolutely must be laceless, take a look at a previous generation of top-end Puma Future Z's that are 50% off now. Pull the laces out and wear those. They are going to be significantly better in every single way. If you wear them with laces, even better. And if you're just after a pair of Puma Ultras, get a previous generation of those, top end or the first takedown model. You can get them for $100 or less, and you're just going to be so much better off. In the speed category, I think something like a Vapor 15 Academy is once again a much better football boot, retailing at $85. There are so many better options in this. Please, please, please don't buy these for $100. Don't buy them for any price. They're not good.